When you study to be a car mechanic, the classroom is essentially a fully stocked auto garage. And a student can put their own pickup truck on the lift to use as a test case.
Can you guys hear that noise? Listen real close. Can you hear that kind of knocking sound? Something's loose in there. What is it?
On a recent afternoon at Dakota County Technical College in Rosemount, Minnesota, a green pickup was up on a lift while Jeffrey Copeland, one of the instructors, showed a group of students how to figure out what was wrong with the steering system.
Anna, feel this right here. Put your fingers on that inner tie rod.
Feels like a socket. It's just loose in there.
The socket is kind of popping, right? So this is what I want to show you. When you check this, these things are going to wear out much quicker than a rack and pinion system.
I visited this auto tech classroom because some of the instructors here are at the forefront of experimenting with bringing AI into the skilled trades. I'll admit that I had thought that hands-on trades like auto repair, plumbing, welding are jobs that are AI-proof. But when I started looking into the topic, I was surprised by what I found, including these auto tech classes here, where Jeffrey Copeland and a colleague have built custom teaching materials that use AI to help students through their assignments. And it can answer questions when students get stuck and the instructors are busy helping others.
You're going to see as we go through some of these lab activities that we're building, by adding AI's interactivity into there, it saves me from getting pulled around the shop continuously to answer questions that they now can ask questions of the AI mentor. I have 24 students in my class and I have 8 groups of students. It's impossible for me to be everywhere in the shop at the same time. So by designing these activities to help guide them through things that maybe I don't need to be there at the time for, they can keep working, and then I can spend my energy just like we did with the pickup, where I'm explaining the stuff that AI can't do, showing them how to physically check things and what to look for.
He said the materials are carefully designed to encourage the students to learn and not just have the bot do the thinking for them.
The cool thing is we're using AI to not provide them answers, but to give them suggestions on maybe what to think about or where to go get the answer themselves. We don't want it just being, an answer substitute. We want it to be a teaching tool.
And how do you do that, though, or how do you stop them from just going and doing it as these tools come out, like of AI just giving you answers?
Well, they'd have to go outside of our chatbot to do it, because right now our mentor is programmed to give them guidance without giving them an answer. So, for instance, if they inspect something and it gives a warn indication, it's going to set up a reminder to say, "Hey, I see you've noted something is abnormal here. Do you want more information on how to look into that a little more closely?" And so if they say yes, it's going to give them suggestions on things they might want to also check. Now, those are time savers for me, because normally they would come over to me and say, "Jeff, this is worn out. What do I do next?" Now, hopefully they can learn to teach themselves a little bit before they come in and pull me over.
Not all of the students here were excited about AI coming into the auto garage. I talked to 19-year-old Bogdan Kristich, who was working on an exercise to diagnose a problem with a power steering system. How do you feel about that AI option?
Still not 100% certain on it.
He said that AI was definitely coming to the trades, and so he might as well know about them. But he had a moral objection to the fact that popular chatbots are built on top of human knowledge without properly crediting or compensating the original authors. But as I talked to him and dug a little deeper, the issue seemed to be to make sure he was seen as the one with the knowledge about cars and not an AI tool.
Knowledge is very much a very valued thing in this industry, and that's kind of what helps you get into the higher paying jobs and more qualifications and other stuff like that.
If that knowledge, could you describe the knowledge, what you mean?
For example, often in dealerships you'll see master techs of either the whole company or a specific model. Those guys, that's because they already have worked on those cars. They know the knowledge on them. They know how to do them fast. And so the dealership rewards them with like higher paying position, more benefits and other like good things to them because they have the knowledge of that specific model and cars they work on. So they don't need like waste more money and time on lower skilled mechanics.
And basically they know that in their own mind, not because they know how to use AI.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hello and welcome to Learning Curve, a look at how education is adapting to the AI era. I'm Jeff Young. This week, what happens when AI comes to hands-on trades, meaning both here in the classroom and about how AI chatbots are already making their way into the lives of auto tech and other tradespeople. First, let me step back a minute and say that this is not just this one auto tech class. Michael Connett, a leader at the Association for Career and Technical Education, is tracking the rise of AI in the trades. And he says this really is growing across hands-on fields. Even things like the typical plumber's tool are starting to have AI embedded in them.
And I get really excited thinking about the old spanner, the old wrench that every plumber in the country has. Well, imagine when you have AI built into that tool that will know how much torque you're actually applying to something, and you're wearing a pair of meta glasses, and it's analyzing the pipe that you're turning for its strength and durability, and the two together are going to tell you, don't honk on that pipe too hard or you're going to break it. And that's a reality. That tool exists today.
I am going to come back to Michael Connett later in the episode, but I want to go back to that auto tech classroom and to the other instructor here building the AI teaching system. His name is Matt Boudinot. On this day, he had taken some cars and trucks and intentionally broken something to see if the students could find the glitch.
Yeah, so what we do is we'll oftentimes put faults in vehicles, and then students will have to diagnose those faults. And in this case, we created a ignition off draw that the students need to pinpoint it down to figure out what circuit it is that is causing the draw. So it's a lot of fun for them. It gives them a lot of hands-on, practical learning. And in the end, they may not come to the solution right away on their own. They sometimes need a little bit of coaching here and there. But there's a lot of learning once they kind of figure out and see how things act and be able to see just how to get to that point of being able to pinpoint where the problem is at.
Matt's been teaching for a long time, and he knows that his students are not going to respond well if he just sits at the front of the classroom telling them what he knows.
The old school platform of just sitting in front of a lecture, having a lecture, and trying to digest the content was always kind of challenging. But now I'd say even more so with the way technology has gone. And if anything we can do to make the learning more fun and engaging is something that helps students, I think, learn the content quicker.
Now, in my coverage, it seems like people often that have gravitated to trade schools or to learning to do work with their hands, they're specifically not interested in lectures.
Yes. Yeah. Students that come into programs like ours typically are learners that like to learn with their hands and like to have kind of the non-traditional type of content delivery. Lectures are not definitely the way that they like to learn. So anything we can do to kind of help gamify it or make it more engaging helps the learner in the end.
Matt and I went out and talked to two of his students who were trying to diagnose that power problem that he had caused, Julia Perrin and another student named Tristan.
Okay, we're doing the ignition off draw test, and it was at 0.055. It would fluctuate. And then we pulled the fuse for what says the Bluetooth, and then it dropped down to what's in spec, which is 0.0. It fluctuates 15 or 20-ish.
So we're looking at the cover to the power distribution center. We're identifying the fuses. The one that they pulled out, we're just looking at the list of fuses in here and trying to make sure that they're looking at the correct one that is causing the draw. They clearly identified which fuse it is by pulling it. It's just a matter of identifying it to be able to see what components are on that circuit and pinpoint it down to where exactly the problem is at.
Matt and Jeff used the same spirit of gamifying things when they built their AI-assisted curriculum. That's what I learned when I talked to another student in the class, Izzy Toth, who showed me the system on her laptop.
And then it gives you diagnosis scenarios. So like a customer comes in saying this is happening. They have this light on their dash. Like, how do you respond to that? Or like, what's the next step? And then down here, it's just checking like just a mastery check, basically. So it's just telling us where we should go next, or like if we know like everything that it's taught us.
So when would you use an AI in this mix that you just described, which is super interesting?
So it does give me like responses. So if I were to answer this question, and I answered it incorrectly, it'd give me a response telling me why it was incorrect or like what I was missing on it. Or if I answered it correctly, it would still like just go through and explain everything. And there's also a chat box down in the corner where I could ask any questions that I need if I'm not finding it on there, and it'll most likely find it for me.
Do you use that?
I've used it in the past on just like different procedures. Like we would just finish breaks, and I ended up using it on one of our questions about moisture level in the brake fluid. But I think they were also tweaking it a little bit at the time. So the responses were more like questions trying to get us to think about it than actually like helping us through it. So I think they're trying to find a happy medium of us thinking for ourselves, but also like getting guidance.
How do you feel about AI being involved with both with the teaching and then like in a job that I have to say, like I never thought automotive tech would be the first, like a place where AI would be in the shop, you know?
I mean, I do think it makes a lot of the things a little bit easier in the fact that it can search the whole internet faster than I can. So if I'm trying to find something that I just can't find, then I'll say, where can I find this? And it'll give me a link, and then I can go to that link and like double check that it's correct. But in that sense, it's nice. I also paint outside of here, so I have a little personal bias against it, but that's a whole different story. I think during this situation and like how we're using it now, it's really helpful.
So like I'm so curious about your painting. Like, what do you mean? Like you have a bias against it? Like just in a nutshell, like what is your personal feeling toward AI broadly?
I think it's, I think when I finish working on something for hours and then I look over and there's something online that's just got posted and has like millions of views, or it's making a lot of like come back, that's AI. I'm like, oh, okay, that's that kind of makes me feel bad about my work. But I mean, in this context, it's great. There's certain things like sometimes these pictures that come up, they're not always like this one is actually correct. Some of the ones we were having before they looked into it, because we were in on Monday and I had done this exact sheet and just a lot of these questions were really off, but I think they put in specific pictures.
Like there was something kind of off? What do you mean by
it had put in a picture that just didn't make any sense.
This is one of the challenges of turning to AI in the trades. When the instructors had AI tools generate the images for their teaching materials, some of them came back wildly inaccurate. The AI would make things like a warning indicator light appear in the car's rear window instead of on the dash. I asked Matt about the struggles that they had with images and AI.
The AI would try to generate images for the lessons that we were creating. However, as many people know right now, the generation of these images are just not at all accurate compared to, especially in our space, it needs to be a very technical diagram of the content that these students need to know. So we found that space right now is definitely a challenge, and where I think Jeff and I have been spending most of our time is creating images that are correct for the technical learning.
In other words, they gave up on trusting AI to make these diagrams for their materials, and they just made their own instead. As Jeff, the other instructor, told me, the stakes for making sure students understand all this correctly is quite high.
Well, I mean, these students are training to work on everyone's car. The public relies on them. It's not quite the same as the aviation industry, where if you have a bad day, a plane falls out of the sky. But it can certainly affect somebody's family or their life if a car doesn't behave like it should. So we take it very serious that, the students follow the right procedures and are always, cognizant of the fact that their work does affect people's lives.
After the break, the surprising way AI is helping car mechanics that has very little to do with fixing cars. Stay with us. Hey, everybody. I wanted to tell you about another podcast that I think you'll enjoy. College Matters from the Chronicle. College Matters is a weekly show from the Chronicle of Higher Education, and it's a great resource for news and analysis about colleges and universities. The host, Jack Stripling, is my former colleague at the Chronicle, who has covered and investigated higher ed for 2 decades. Jack really knows his stuff, and I think you'll get a kick out of his conversations with reporters and newsmakers. So check out College Matters on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now back to the episode. Most of the students studying here also work part-time in auto garages in the area. So they are already applying what they're learning. And some of them say they are starting to use AI regularly at work. That's true for Tyler Bjorkstrand, who says he's now using ChatGPT when he's looking at cars.
I'll use the camera feature and it'll, you can ask it, oh, what is this part? And it'll tell you. Or it can't do noise yet, but it helps a lot pinpoint different areas of what could possibly be wrong with the cars.
Wait, wouldn't that be cool if you could hold your phone up to your car while it's making some awful noise and an AI tool could tell you what's wrong with your car based on the sound? It made me think back to that amazing NPR show, Car Talk. I grew up listening to that, ran for 25 years. If you aren't aware of this show, 2 car mechanics in the Boston area, they would take calls from listeners who would often mimic a sound that their car was making and get advice from these experts on what to do. Here's a clip.
When I turn the steering wheel,
Either way, left or right.
left or right,
You're sitting stopped.
I'm stopped or going
Or moving.
or moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes this noise and it kind of goes,
Yeah, sort of like...
You're interested in selling this car? Of course, this was a very human way to get help, not at all robotic. In fact, it was often pretty hilarious. The student Tyler, though, he said that not everyone at work is excited about turning to AI chatbots. Like one day recently.
And so I started asking AI because I got a little stuck on my diagnosis. And one of my coworkers came over to me. He's like, "Are you using AI to diagnose a car right now?" I said, "Yeah, it's actually helped me out a lot." And he was kind of skeptical at first.
Wait, you gotta give me a little more color. How did he express this skepticism?
He was like, I don't know. The expression on his face was kind of not like a disgust, but a disappointment that I'm using AI in this field. Because a lot of them are like, AI is not going to replace my job. It's not going to help me. He was very skeptical and very disappointed that I was using it.
Matt, one of the instructors here, has also been giving talks to various groups about his experiments with AI in his teaching. And he says he faces some skepticism as well.
And I think it's kind of back to the same thing where a lot of people don't understand the aspects of how it can be used in their spaces until somebody shows them. Initially, I think a lot of educators are a little bit reluctant to it, especially in programs that are more old school, heavy truck, heavy equipment, some of those technical trades like that. They're a little bit more resistant to looking at new technology like that. But once you start to show them how it can be applied and show them the benefits of it and how it can aid in student learning, how it can aid in the classroom when it comes to efficiencies and things like that, then they start to kind of turn their head and look and be like, okay, I'm starting to get it now. And they'll usually adapt, a piece here, a piece there. And then eventually you'll see that they a lot of them start to go all in on seeing what else can it help me with, in the space.
That student, Tyler, says his coworker did come around when he saw how AI could really save him time.
I can see how people can be skeptical because it's not always right. It's not always going to be 100% accurate on everything. So you still have to be wary of that. But
I think it does definitely increase production. At least for me, it does increase production. If I'm trying to diagnose something, it definitely helps point me in the right direction if I'm really stuck on something. I won't use it right away, but if I'm very stuck on something, it does point me in the right direction.
The instructors say there is one area that AI can be especially helpful in the trades: assisting students with their communication with customers.
Because our industry is an industry where we're working with customers, front facing with the customers. These customers usually don't bring their cars in because they're happy. Usually it's because something is broken or they're having to do some sort of maintenance that costs them money, especially when it comes around this time of year. We're looking at close to the holidays. They're looking to spend their money on more fun things, maybe for their kids, maybe for each other. But when they have to spend it on the car, that's not a convenience, and it's usually not a great experience for customers. So we got to teach our students how to make that experience of them coming in, even though it's a very, kind of undesirable one, make it a better experience.
So Matt made this AI exercise where a chatbot pretends to be an upset customer. It's part of what he calls the soft skills garage. And when you switch on the voice mode, the student can essentially have this simulated customer interaction. Julia Perrin, Matt's student that I met earlier who was trying to figure out what was wrong with that truck's power system, she let me sit in while she did one of the optional assignments with the soft skill garage.
So this is basically just having to deal with customers, and it's a way where you can get your words out and kind of de-escalate situations where customers are angry and upset and emotional, and you have to de-escalate them and reassure them, kind of is the whole point of this.
All right. So first of all, you have to set up the scenario, right? So you have some choices here. Could you just walk me through it as you press the buttons here?
Yeah, so from the first choice, you get to choose what type of customer you're dealing with. So explosive and dramatic, passive aggressive, emotional, or just demanding. So kind of just sets up, just different customers, because everyone's different. It's trying to be a person, even though it's AI, it's trying to be that person.
Say start, and we'll dive right in. If you want to make any changes, just let me know.
Start.
All right, let's jump in. Scenario begins. You're at the service desk and the customer walks in, clearly agitated. They're here about a repair that wasn't done correctly the first time, and they're ready to let off some steam. Customer storms in. I can't believe I'm back here again. This is absolutely ridiculous. My car still isn't fixed, and I'm furious. What are you going to do about it?
I'm so sorry to hear this. Well, I promise we're doing everything we can to fix it. Are we able to get any more information about the vehicle and what problems are still occurring?
Customer raises voice. I already told you everything. The same issue is happening again, and it's been weeks. How can I trust that you'll actually fix it this time? I'm not leaving until it's done right. Feel free to continue the conversation, and I'll keep the customer's energy going. Let me know how you'd like to respond.
I promise this is all part of the diagnosis process. Our techs are doing everything we can. Is there any new symptoms that will help lead us to this fix?
In the end, the robot even offers feedback on how the student handled the scenario.
You did a great job navigating that scenario. The customer started off quite heated, and you used empathy and reassurance effectively. As you progress, you can keep refining those de-escalation techniques and problem-solving strategies.
I'm curious, how does it feel to do it as a simulation? Does it make you feel like a little more realistic when this bot is hounding you a little bit?
I do, in the fact where it's you have to come up with a quick response, and they're upset, and at least right now it's it's the chance to learn, and you can pause and think about what you're going to say. But yeah, in the actual scenario, it's you have to figure out how to make them happy.
Perrin was most excited about this aspect of the technology. She says she thinks it would be especially useful in writing up service reports for customers.
When there's a problem with a vehicle, we can't just say, here's a problem, and we don't know how to fix it. We have to go and we've done this test, we've done this test, we've done this test. But then to a company, they want certain formats of that word or how it's typed out and more understandable for people that don't work on cars.
And that would give her more time to focus on repairs.
Especially as a tech, time is how you make money. And when you have to use your time to do more simple tasks, it's that you lose money. So AI is a great way it's just a time saver in general.
And it seems like an industry where it's like the way it's structured, it's like the more jobs you do, the more money you're going to make.
Yes, definitely, 100%. That's why it's any way a tech can cut time where they can now start working on something else, and now they have extra time, they're getting paid for that. And that's how techs make their money in general. So.
And it's interesting to me because coming into this, I was like, oh, these jobs are AI proof because you have to be so hands-on. And yet there's parts of the job that AI might solve first that are not about the actual fixing.
Yes, definitely. They just put it in words where everyone will understand, even if writing was never my strong suit, or talking was never my strong suit in school. So being able to put simple things out and AI being able to write it where, anyone can understand and it's in the wording that other people want to hear it, it's a great tool.
And why this field?
I don't really know. I got into it with friends, just working on cars in the garage, and figured it'd be a good opportunity. And I like projects, and I like working with my hands. I could not see myself doing an office job, so it seemed like a good fit at the time.
Are you still liking it?
Some parts more than others. I love working on cars. I love doing things every day, new things every single day, learning new things. It's the people side that I don't like. And I don't know, as a tech, it's your hours. They always try and cut. They don't want the company wasting money, so in their eyes. So tech making more and more money, they see as, well, they don't need that. It's a tough industry. It's tough. But otherwise, I love working on cars. It's just a sad money side to it.
It turns out that the communication and the management side of the trades is where AI is sweeping in the fastest. At least that's what Michael Connett, that national expert that I talked to, said.
Think about your small business owner who has a fleet of repair people who go out into the community on service calls, and they're continually getting calls in their office for services. Well, before they'd have to get on the radio or they'd have to call the technician and figure out who is in proximity, how long each job is going to take. Well, there are now planning programs that take into consideration real-time data tracking through GPS of where that small fleet might be deployed along with the projects they're working on, and it can estimate the amount of time that it's going to take for them to complete projects and who's closest and who would have the most bandwidth to actually complete the project or the task that crops up.
I gotta say, Connett is a true believer that AI is gonna make big improvements for the trades. But as I researched all this, I couldn't help worrying that maybe just making things more efficient isn't necessarily the best thing for all the humans involved.
And it's going to produce an improved efficiency and, I don't want to call it a success rate, but a better performance of the job, right?
I guess, but it also just feels like you're getting bossed around by a computer.
That I don't doubt. I had the opportunity to go to a company up in Michigan called Fanuc. I don't know if you've ever heard of
I've heard of them because of this work. Yeah. They're a major company, right?
Yeah. About 80% of the world's industrial robots come from the company. So they're
factory robots.
Right. Their U.S. manufacturing facility has a floor with with about 500 of them. And they range from micro robots that are about 1.5 inches tall all the way up to about a 25-foot tall robot. And so when you walk by the big 25-footer that is literally picking up cars, flipping them over, changing the tires, flipping them back over and down. When you walk by, if you get too close, there's sensors telling the robot to stand down. There's sensors that are telling you how long that car should be upside down because of the fluids that are in it. I mean, AI is just being embedded in all these fields. So the flip side of this is we've got to make certain that our students who are in the CTE programs today, students who are in any education program for that matter, are prepared to be thinking about the world they'll be working in using these tools so that they're trained and ready to go. And more importantly, they're ready to have a rewarding and fulfilling career.
This is a theme I keep hearing throughout the podcast, that AI is just coming, and so whether you like it or not, students need exposure so that they can help get the jobs of the future. I will say that none of the students that I talked to for this story are worried about getting replaced by robots. That was definitely true for Izzy Toth, that student who noticed the glitches with the AI images earlier.
I think I chose my profession for job security. I don't think a robot's ever going to be able to do what we do. There's just so much to it. And like, especially with older vehicles, I don't think like with the newer ones, I guess like a robot could comprehend or AI could comprehend it. But like with the older vehicles, like there's a lot of things on my car that just are not normal. And it's just like wearing from weather and all of that. Like, I think there's certain situations that just like we couldn't get replaced with. So I think a big thing for me was job security in this and knowing that I can't get replaced.
And what kind of car do you have?
I have a 2004 Mercury Mountaineer, and I mean, if it's leaking it, you've got it, and I have everything. So
I love it. And so have you brought your car in here to work on it for the classes?
Oh, 100%. There's a lot of things in here that I'd have to pay to get done otherwise because I just don't have the tools available. But like resurfacing my brakes and getting my brakes done was something that I did in here.
I was struck by one thing as I talked to Matt and Jeff, the instructors here. They seem to thrive on finding ways to use tools to make things better. And they've both been teaching for a long time, more than a decade each. And as these AI tools have come out, they have looked for ways to bring in the chatbots to help improve student learning. And Matt admits that he was pretty skeptical when he first tried ChatGPT a couple years ago, soon after it came out.
Because early on when I was testing, just asking it, hey, explain to me how to test a throttle position sensor, it was drastically wrong. I mean, it's sure there are some things that were right in there, but then there were certain parts that were crazy off the wall wrong. And it's like, it wasn't even usable. And I'm like, well, if it's going to be like this, it's not going to be a tool that we're going to be able to use in our industry. But then after, it's come so far, especially after that first year, and even within this past year, it is insane how much better it has gotten to the point where it's like, yes, it's really is 100% usable, and the accuracy in it has become drastically better when it comes to following procedures or providing procedures and so on. And I will tell you that on my custom chats that I have with, or the custom GPTs that I have, I tell it to not guess. It's like, okay, if you don't know, you say, I don't know, and then you direct it, direct them to service info.
I wish that was just a default, but yes.
It totally should be.
I don't get why it's not.
I know. It's amazing how much better it's gotten.
These days, though, he's all in. He's even making these short videos that he's putting on social media where he explains what he's learning about AI for other instructors in the trades, including how to make the kind of teaching materials he's been doing, even if you don't know how to code.
Greetings, fellow educators. This video is for you. If you're like me and you have no idea how to code anything, let alone an interactive lesson, AI is here to help. In this video, I will show you how to create an interactive lesson by using what we call vibe coding with Google Gemini.
And these instructors also seemed clear that if the AI tool isn't working for them and for their students, they'll just keep trying to improve it or ditch it entirely. After all, they did stress this is the first semester that they've used these new AI tools that they've cooked up. It's all brand new.
If you do get an opportunity to check back in a couple weeks, I'd love to give you an update to say, hey, this thing just totally flopped and I had to go back to the old system, or, we worked out a few bugs and they love it now. So,
all right. I'm not that far. Maybe I'll come again. All right.
Good.
So you're saying you invite me back?
Absolutely. You betcha.
This has been Learning Curve. I have a lot of people to thank for this particular episode. The episode was supported by a journalism fellowship from the Institute for Citizens and Scholars, which has been supporting coverage of career and technical education. This fellowship also connected me to a mentor in radio, which was amazing, Stephanie Daniel. She is the senior managing editor at the NPR station in Denver, KUNC. She helped me shape this story along the way. I'm so thankful for her help. I'm excited to share that, in part thanks to Stephanie's help, a short version of this story ran on the national radio show Marketplace earlier this month. I'll put a link to that in the show notes if you want to check it out. It's only 3 minutes and 40 seconds or something. Make sure you're on the newsletter to get those. And thanks to Matt Boudinot and Jeff Copeland for letting me come and observe their classes this semester and being so generous with their time. The music for this episode is by the Marseille-based electronic artist Kamaku. And the episode art is a photo I took at Dakota County Technical College that I ran through an AI service called Midjourney to put a filter on it, make it look kind of futuristic. If you have feedback on this episode or suggestions for the future, send them to me at jeff@learningcurve.fm. And thanks to everyone who has been writing in. It's always great to hear from listeners. If you haven't already, I gotta say, you gotta follow the podcast wherever you listen. Please leave a review if you can, or share it with a friend so we can keep growing. This is the last episode of the calendar year. I'll be back in 2 weeks with a fresh episode. So much more to explore in 2026. Until then, happy holidays, happy new year, and thanks for listening.